New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com. Welcome to the Tonya G Show, where we discuss politics, business, social issues, and so much more. Today's show is brought to you by our new sponsor, Footprint Farms. Visit them online at footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call them at 601-910-5534. Be sure to check out their TV show, Ag Plus Culture, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on their YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms. I'm so excited about tonight's show. Joining me are two outstanding men that are providing tangible solutions to the many issues within the Black communities. Dr. Eldridge Henderson, a political and economic consultant, is joining me to my right, and Mr. Bennie Foster, a community leader, organizer, and activist. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salute again.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here. I'm excited about it. Dr. Henderson, I want to start with you because you have been a guest on Mr. Garrett's show on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. here on WeBelieveDigital.com. And you talk about a lot of issues that are affecting the Black community, and there are 5 areas that Black people must control, and we have 9 years to get ahead of this. Talk about what those 5 areas are.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I will talk about those areas. Most people don't like to hear about it, and then I give you the specifics, because when you say you only have 9 years to do something, one is concerned about the fact that if they don't do it, what's going to happen to them? My job is to tell you what you must do in 9 years, and then I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you if you don't. Okay. So you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Okay.
So the thing that I always tell Black folks they must do, starting on the local level, control 5 areas of activity from birth to death. Number 1, education and training, religion, principles of leadership, economic development, and politics. And since they are not going to allow Black people to train in the public schools to learn these things, starting from birth to death, they must use the church to do it, to do the training, because the church is there, the utilities are on, they have the space, they have the teachers. Many have more space than they don't even think about using. Family life centers, grounds with picnic tables. And we're going to have to get involved in education and training and supplement the public schools. And many of these schools are going to have to look at their future, and you're going to see it's going to remain the same because the school system is controlled by the state. And there are no states in the United States that's going to do anything to empower the Black people in America in education, economic development, politics, and leadership. They are always going to be marginal. So the idea is to get young people and start training them, but you have to get young people that are serious. You first have to recruit young people in your church, in your community. When you recruit them, you got to then train them. Once you get them trained, you would have to then select some that you see that have what we call specific potential. Once you select them, then you put them in a specific training program in what I call religious moral development. Give them some training in the leadership strategies they need. Teach them about economic development for self first and then their family. And the next thing they're going to do is get involved in politics. About time that young person, working through this church, going to the public schools when he is not at church, he then, when he's around 10 or 12, already been assigned to the city council as an observer, the county supervisors, other board meetings in the city. And when he's 18 or 21, he's then in a position where he can be assigned to run for public office. We must get new leadership in America, and especially in what we call the Black South. We cannot continue to have the type of leaders that have been operating since the 1960s. Many have been in office 10, 30, 40, and 50 years, and when they die, retire, or forced out, their relatives replace them. So you have the same regimes in office for 2 generations, and there's no significant change.
Right.
So if you get the young people that's trained, recruited, and positioned, you then can have a new leadership because they won't be arrogant. They will be statesmen instead of politicians because they'll be doing it for the people.
Well, so how do we get the churches involved? How do we get with the church leaders to say, hey, this is some things that we want to implement? What do we do in that regard?
That's very simple. You sure don't pray to do it. The way you do it is so simple. When I tell you, you won't believe it. If you have a church with a couple of hundred members,
right,
or 5,000, only a few will attend. So you have to look at the significant attendees, get a group of 10, 30, or 40, decide what you want to do with that church, sign a petition addressing these issues to the leadership board of the pastor, the trustees, and say, this is what we're going to have to do, pastor, trustees, in this church, because we're not doing anything.
Right.
And if he or she does not go, you have a second page to flip and say, this is how we're going to get you out of office. We're going to vote you out.
The preacher?
You vote the preacher out.
The pastor?
That's right. Or the school superintendent, or the deacon, anyone that wants to hamper progress and maintain the status quo needs to go. You put them in retirement or invite them to move on to another position elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
And if black people don't start doing this, they don't have 9 years to do it, then they're going to be relegated on a permanent basis as an outcast in America and a permanent member of the underclass. We're already there right now. And I told you before, we have fallen from number 2 position to number 6 as far as political and economic power is concerned and social intercourse, so to speak.
Well, who are the 5 before us?
Well, you always have the European Americans, which you all call white folks. You have the Asians, the Arabs, they're number 3. Now the Hispanics are number 4.
Oh, wow.
The Native Americans are number 5, and black folks are number 6. We are below the Native Americans. They do have their own land, their own reservation, but the Caucasians control it, of course, through the Indian Bureau of Affairs, but at least they have a semblance of leadership. They don't give them what they need, and they don't allow them to get the training they need to build their own communities, and that's by design. So if you know your enemy is not going to help you, you have to come up with a corrective action plan to do something for yourself. Then you get some respect when you start controlling the economic development in your community, when you have principled leaders, when you have people that can economically sound themselves to the point where I'm going to get the resources I need as an individual. I'm going to start a business. I am going to teach this to my children. I am going to then buy some things. And that's why we would then teach that other component, which I'll talk about later. See, you can't depend on others. And we have plans put together, there's research that can show you that you can move from where you are to where you want to be gradually, and you can start in 30, 60, 90 days in these 5 areas of activity that I'm talking about.
Benny, would you like to add something to that?
I love it. A lot of it is what we plan to do with Open House. You remember we were here and Ms. Scott wanted me to speak about the 5 Ps, the right people, right place, right plan, right position, and right posture.
Right.
That's what Dr. Henderson is referring to when he's saying select these young people. Remember, I told you that I will select a young person and bring them back so we can kind of pick their brain and see what they see from their perspective.
That's right.
A lot of times we see it from an adult perspective, and there is a generational gap within every generation. So when I walk in the room with someone like Dr. Henderson, I'm here for it. You know, I'm listening.
Right.
I'm soaking it in, and I'm literally honored that some of the things he's saying so boldly and confidently are some of the same things that I know that I've been inspired by God to come to Jackson and do.
Right.
And when I say by God, sometimes people get spooky and think, woo, woo, woo. No, we all hear from God.
Right.
You know, in our own way.
Right.
And if you're taught to wait and go hear from him in church, you're not going to listen to him when he speaks to you personally. I have a certain gift and talent to reach young people. I have some solutions. There are some problems. Let's put the solutions in place. And if they don't want to do it, like you say, it will be our demise. You know, and I think when you think about people like me coming back after 25 years, and you think about this platform that has been created for us to discuss these things, why won't people listen?
Right.
I think they're comfortable sometimes with the demise. I think they're comfortable. I once heard a preacher say this, and I definitely, release it back, but he said that a lot of times people are so comfortable with their pain that once they get healed, they still go to searching for the pain. And they want to go back to the crutch because they're so used to hurting. And I think that there's a fear that we're going to have to address. There's a fear amongst our people for change. And I would like to know what maybe Dr. Henderson think on how we can eradicate that fear that our people have because we get used to the whipping.
Right.
We get used to the pain. We get used to the low self-esteem, the mortifying, the demeaning. We get used to it, and we expect it.
Right.
And we normalize it. But how do we come out of that?
Well, one way to do that is to tell yourself, I am an individual, and I'm not going to accept this pain anymore. I am going to do the things I need to do to make myself whole. I don't care what you do, but I will have a corrective action plan for myself, my family, and my community, and that's what I'm going to do. And I will run over anyone that wants to get in my way if they want to maintain the status quo.
I feel the same.
That's what you have to do. And that's why you have to get with three groups: the preachers, the politicians, and the corporate leaders. All of those people work for us, the citizens.
Right.
Every one of them. Every one, gets the salary from us. We pay them. So therefore they work for the people. And I didn't say you have to boycott them.
Right.
You don't have to boycott them. For instance, if they are selling products or goods or services you don't need, or they're taking advantage of you, you just don't buy them. And since you have your own people trained, you open up your own store, convenience store, wig shop, fingernail place.
All of that.
And you get with those preachers. All of them. And then, but the main thing we have to open up, and a lot of the preachers are afraid to do it, that is banks.
Yes.
There's not one big denomination in Mississippi, regional or statewide or national, that not in a position to open up a bank and have $100 million in it in 30 days.
Yes.
And you can get a bank incorporated in just a few weeks.
Yes.
So why do you think we don't have banks, Dr. Henderson?
Well, it's because we are not looking at the past. We had banks, but during the period that I talked to you about earlier in the 1960s, we had a lot of things. But you had certain groups, and I'm not going to call any names because some of my listeners get excited. We had certain groups that started praying and telling themselves that we're going to have to go to the enemy camp. And they came up with a word called integration. They said we're going to have to integrate with people that don't want us because they are better. They taught those folks to do that. And if you look at those people that were preaching integration, most of them that were the leaders that had graduate degrees went to some big university somewhere. They had to start at a black college. They called them colleges then. And then they were brainwashed to believe that there was something called equity and equality, and wanted to pretend that the Constitution was set up for black folks in America. They wanted to pretend that they were full citizens and they were less than property even after the 60s. even after the 70s, the 80s, and 2020. We are still an outcast. We are still a permanent underclass.
The Tonya G. Show has a new sponsor, Footprint Farms. Visit online at footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call them at 601-910-5534. Be sure to check out their TV show, Ag Plus Culture, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on their YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to the show. Dr. Henderson, we were talking about the Constitution, and you were saying that black people were property, and the Constitution wasn't written for black people in essence. Continue on with that.
Well, that's a very sensitive topic. Most black people...
Does that still apply today?
Of course it does.
Okay.
Now, they made a few adjustments and put what I call some grease on the rough parts. And they call that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which wasn't about anything, because you still didn't have massive voting throughout the South, North, East, and West. And then when you went through that illusion that you were getting ready to be a real citizen, they then, 5 to 7 years ago, started changing the voter right laws. And now they are getting it to the point where you're going to have to select one of 30 different IDs, that's just to scare you, that you can't get a drink of water when you go to the polls, on and on and on. You can't sit down, so they're going to keep a lot of them away. And many just getting ready to become slaves again without being in what I call legal slavery. They're going to give up. And that's why, and this is bad to say, I am not going to waste a lot of time with anyone over 65. Now, I'm going to pray for those, because those of us that are over 65 are not going to do very much. We are going to try to keep as much good health as we can, keep a few dollars in the bank, have decent food, clothing, and shelter, and hope we can die without being in a nursing home for 5 or 6 years.
I heard that.
That's about what most of them want to do. Now, there'll be a few exceptions, but the persons and the group that I want to deal with, 65 and younger, and you have to start working with them in kindergarten.
Yes.
And let the kindergarten students be taught by the third graders. Third graders taught by the fifth graders in the areas where they are superior. If you find a good, strong kindergarten student that has math skills, can sing, can do engineering, just make things, you need to put a spotlight on that child.
Right.
And then you go and buy him materials and let him know he's going to be the greatest engineer in the world. Then you get old Bo Peep that's over there. They can't even write a sentence, but he can go and take a television set loose and put it together without reading a thing.
Right.
That's who you get to teach the others. See, a lot of people have been brainwashed to believe that you must have a teacher certificate to teach. I have been a teacher for years, and I've been associated with some teachers couldn't teach themselves out of the classroom with PhDs. So you have to understand, you have to do things different. Let those that know what to do it, and not go and get brainwashed and want to do like your people that you love when you hate yourself, and follow their rules and regulations.
Wow.
That's good information, Dr. Henderson. Bennie, I want to switch over to you because Dr. Henderson gives us the pointers of what we need to do. You are actually grounds root community activists in the neighborhoods and the communities making stuff happen. You were on last week to talk about your open house vision initiative. Tell our viewing audience what open house is and what you are accomplishing.
Awesome. Before we switch, I want to absolutely, positively, totally agree with Dr. Henderson.
Okay.
I have a master's in education administration, teacher leadership, and I have a early childhood BS from Jackson State University. And in it, in teaching, the children are fine. Dealing with the children is fine. Dealing with the parents is great. A lot of times you have to deal with administrators who may feel some type of insecurity or inadequacy. And it's like it's already enough walking that balance beam of being a teacher. But if you are a teacher that is teaching the way he mentioned we should teach, that we find that bright spot in that child early, because that's a natural gift,
Right.
that's a natural talent. One man plant, another man sow, and God will provide the increase in that child if you give them the resources.
Right.
Segueing into open house vision, give me the resources, and we'll show you some solutions. You know, somebody asked me literally, well, you need a house. Will you be staying in the house? I say, as long as I can make sure nobody's going to break in and steal the stuff we put in it. You know, and it's the mindset of our people.
Right.
It's the mindset. If I'm working there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., I'm literally staying at the house.
You are.
You understand what I'm saying? So we have to stop looking at how we can pick something apart instead of thinking about how we can add to and be a part of the solution.
Exactly.
Not sitting here waiting to look for a hole in his philosophy or my philosophy. There's a great saying, he that said it couldn't be done should not interrupt those doing it.
That's correct.
And that's what we're getting. We're getting people who don't understand it. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to do background research. What I did is not who I am. And some of these young people feel like what they did dictates to them at 14, 15 years old who they are.
Right.
They have no idea. What you did at 18, 21, 25, 26, you're no longer that person.
Absolutely.
And so what we're doing is we're containing ourselves, you know, and there's a form of invisible chains, a psychological chains that we're dealing with. We talked earlier about the PTSD that the African American male may go through, or even the African American female goes through her form of imposter syndrome and PTSD. And we have to now deal with that. The only way we can deal with that is what I call TLC, time, love, and consistency. Time is a form of structure, it's a form of discipline. Love as well is a form of structure and discipline. That what you love, you're going to create some type of structure to protect it, to preserve it, to prepare it, to grow it, to cultivate it. And then last, consistency. There's a lot of consistency missing in our young people's lives. You know, it's so much of a roller coaster going on with this socioeconomic status, moving from place to place, being evicted, father not having, and being able to be in the home after a certain amount of time. The father was purposely forced out of the home.
Absolutely.
Intentionally. And then drugs were flooding into neighborhoods. We can talk about this all night. But let's get to the solution. We have a solution in the form of open house vision, which is a resource center. We chose a home for the psychological and for the symbolicness of what do we want to do whenever there's trouble? What do we want to do? We always want to go back home. So some of these young people don't have a home life that provided nurturance and structure. So create a home that handles home, school, workforce, and community. And we reach each kid. You have to approach them differently. It's not a cookie cutter approach.
That's true.
Let's sit down, let's give them a pre-evaluation of what it is they're lacking in, where their strengths are, and then let's put them in front of their strengths and say, this may not be what you're going to do forever, but this is something that you can do to provide for your family.
Right.
You have young people, I said it last time, they smoke to smoke, drink to drink, freak to freak, think they're grown. You're not grown. Accountability and responsibility is adulthood. And so if we can teach them ethics, integrity, these different things that Dr. Henderson mentioned earlier. I love that plan. That plan lines up. I would definitely love to talk with you more later, sir, because it's like this is what needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Even though he's a little older than me, I need to learn from him.
Right.
And whoever's beneath me, I may empower the greatest leader that Jackson ever seen. It may not even be about me.
That's true.
It may not be, I may touch the greatest leader that Jackson, Mississippi ever seen, but it's because I didn't throw him away. And that's what Open House is offering, a resource center for those that have felt like they want to give up, that there's no help. We want to love on them, we want to nurture them, we want to give them structure, we want to teach them proper protocol, and we want to give them a second chance.
And some of the things that you touch on, conflict resolution, leadership trainings. I'm sorry. We have a call, you all.
Okay.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank
Good
you for
evening.
calling in.
Okay. I hear a lot being said, and all of it is important. My question specifically is to Dr. Henderson. I would just like for you to make your plan a little bit clearer, because when I'm listening to you, it almost sounds like you're saying we got to wait 60 plus years just to see those results, because you got to start when they're, young, in kindergarten or whatever. And I do understand that we need to, there needs to be something in place to address those at that age. But if we address them at that age, are you saying we're going to have to wait 60 plus years just to see the results?
No,
Because
sir.
a 60-year-old person today is not doing what he's supposed to be
You don't
doing.
have to ask anything
I just
else.
want you to
No.
give me some clarity on that.
I do
That's all.
not believe in waiting 60 years, 40 years, 10 years, or 5 years. You have young people right now that you can train to be running for county supervisor
Right.
in 2 years or when the next election.
Right.
I had a chance today to talk to some young students at Jackson State University that's majoring in political science. They are old enough to run for the House of Representatives,
Indeed.
the mayor, county supervisor. They have had 4 years of training. All they need would run through a leadership course, a 3-week leadership course, register some new voters. Forget about that 15% that's voting. They're going to vote for the same people anyway.
True.
Go to the high schools and the colleges and universities and to others and recruit new voters.
Yes.
Go to the clubs, the pawn shops,
Yes.
hang around those places. Go to the malls and go to the parks where the homeless people are
Yes.
and register new voters,
Yes.
and then contact those new voters every 30 days through any means that you can use. And when you run for office, you don't need but 51% of the people that's voting.
Right.
So if you have a new group, you will automatically win. And here's a young student, 21 years age, is a county supervisor or on the city council. And you have to stop putting too much emphasis on males. You got to get males and females
That's right.
to be in
Correct.
these
That's
public
right.
positions.
Correct.
You can do the same thing in the church. You could do the same thing in the corporate leader. So it doesn't take no 65 years. The caller heard me mention the word 65. And caller, I was saying that after you're 65, you're not going to do very much of anything other than try to live and die and go to heaven. But after you're 65
Well,
or
thank you
younger,
for that clarity, Dr. Henderson.
Thank you.
That's what I was looking for, because I heard you as you were elaborating earlier. And like I said, I agree with what you're saying. I just didn't think we should have to wait for an extended period of time just to see the results. Thank you for taking my call.
thank you,
you
sir.
for calling.
That's awesome.
Continue on.
Okay, well, the thing you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you think things can't be done, they can't.
Right.
But I know from experience that you can start changing your life in 30, 60, 90 days if you have the following. I call it a prioritized corrective action plan. You set one goal, you make an agenda, you do a timeline and a checklist, and start working on it. 30 days, I will reach this goal. 60 days, 90 days. Then you go to the corner and call that little evaluation team that you've been consulting with and say, look at what I've done. Give me a check and make sure that I have at least 95% of my goals reached. And then you have that person trained to do something else. And that's why you can grab someone off the street, clean him up, fix him up, teach him up, and he is ready to go and do something that will amaze you.
Well, it sounds like we need to have people that can actually create programs, people that can create leadership curriculum, people that can go ahead.
It sounds like we need to take the whole structure down and start over. And I think some people are so caught up with favoritism and and they caught up with relationships, and that's okay because that's how people get elected, through relationships.
Right.
And like he said, going out to the barbershops, going out to the pawn shops, going out to Jackson State University and looking at some young, able-bodied people that are full of vigor and life and say, are you tired? Okay, we're going to give you the tools to change this system. So I feel like in some areas the whole system needs to come down and we need to start over. And that can be done with people stepping up. Now, me coming here, I've been here for almost 21 days, and I've already had some land donated to me and a building donated to me because of a vision. The vision is for the people. The mission is how the people work together for the vision to come about. And I need people
Hold
that
that thought,
understand.
Benny. Hold that
Yes.
thought. The Tonya G Show has a new sponsor, Footprint Farms. Visit online at footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call 601-910-5534. Be sure to check out their TV show, Ag Plus Culture, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on their YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms. We'll be right back with my guests, Dr. Eldridge Henderson and Mr. Benny Foster.
I'm LeGrand Elliott,
I'm Cindy Ayers
and
Elliott,
we have a brand new show called Ag and Culture. We'll be discussing all things agriculture.
but more specifically how it affects farmers and ranchers of color with national and local guests.
And of course, we're talking culture, food, wine, health, politics, education, and so much more.
Join us for informative and fun conversation with guests from all over the country.
It's a fresh new show, Ag and Culture, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. on the East, and 7 a.m. on the West.
Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms.
And on WeBelieve.global.
You're tuned in to the Tonya G Show. Benny, continue on with your point.
Yeah, what I basically was saying is that it's people. We can't do this without people. And there are people that have gifts and talents that they're laying dormant, sitting there, and most people are living to die instead of living to live. You reach a certain age and you feel like it's too late. Like he said, around 65, your mind is on something else. Let them young people have it,
Right.
but the young people have not been trained.
Right.
That's it.
They have not been
right.
educated. So
Right.
we're passing the baton. I ran track in college, and there was a certain way that there was a mark that you set
Right.
and you put a piece of tape.
Yeah.
And when you got to it, because the other person need to be focused forward and not looking back at you at a certain point, when you hit that point, he turned around and you would say, stick,
Yeah.
hand,
Yeah.
and they would know when to throw their
Right.
hand back. That's training. That's someone passing the baton to someone else. We have young people that have more than the wherewithal to be great leaders,
Right.
but we're not
Cultivating
sticking
it.
and handing them. They watching us and then they're going and emulating us, and a lot of us are not operating in integrity and ethics and all these great things that we spoke about earlier. They watch us operate in hatred. They watch us operate in cursing our best friend out and getting mad about stuff. They watch us in our marriages and our relationships. They watch us.
Right.
It's like a little kid. Where you get that cursing from? You know where you got that cursing from.
Right.
Who do you get it from? Cursing just like you. And so we have to now change our mindset as leaders, as elders, and we now have to light the fire and stoke the fire in our young people and prepare them. And again, I keep going back to that's what Open House Vision as a resource center is about. Somebody asked me, well, is it a counseling center? It's a resource center.
Whatever you
Each and
need.
every child. And if
That's
we
a
don't know how to
component.
get it, guess what? We're going to Google Academy or YouTube University and figure out how to do it.
That's right.
Right.
We have too many tools and too much technology to not let this happen.
So, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
ma'am,
some
I'm
of
done.
the things that you will be offering are trades. So, home
Yes,
ec,
home
and
ec shop. We're going
and
back to the
carpentry.
basics.
How
We're going
important-
back to the
Dr. Henderson,
basics.
kind of chime in on that because you talk about that quite a bit. How important are trades to our young people? Because everybody is not going to go to college. You understand what I'm saying?
They're not built for college.
Right. Well, that's the most important thing in the world, to learn how to do something with your hand and mind. I've been telling people for years, you don't need a BS or a master's or a PhD to fix a car, to do an air condition, to be a diesel mechanic, to be a nursing assistant, and many other things. You need the skill. Even if you don't finish high school, you can get the skills to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You just need certain certifications to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't take and pass the high school test, there are other tests you can take and pass that'll give you the credentials you need to do whatever you want to do. And matter of fact, you don't need a high school diploma to attend college. All you got to do is take a certain test and make a certain score, have in your portfolio that you can put an airplane together, you can build a drone, that you can do research and do many different things, and that'll get you in the door.
Yes.
So you don't feel bad, ladies and gentlemen, saying I don't have a college degree,
Right.
I don't have the right family.
Right.
That has nothing to do with it if you are focused. And in order to make sure you're ready, you have to start early and use what I call the part of the Hendersonistic code, where there are 7 things you have to do. You first have to do like some of the people are doing now. You have to listen to something. And I've been talking about this for years. When you start listening, you have to start thinking about something. You know, one thing,
We don't listen. That's deep.
I'm not
That's-
happy with
that's
my
good.
situation.
Right.
And when you start thinking and throwing out the good and keeping the bad, then you say, I'm learning something now. So
Yes.
you start learning.
Right.
Yes.
And when you start learning, you say, I think I have the ability to do the following.
Absolutely.
So then you're going to go out there. When you learn something, then you're going to start working to reach that goal. Build that little car you want to do. Go and get that GED.
Right.
Go and join the National Guard. If you have a high school diploma and you don't want to go to college and you don't want to go to work, say, I want to learn how to be an airplane mechanic. The best place to go is National Guard or the regular service. You don't have to love it, just do it to get the skill. It's only 6 months. And then you got to get out and do what you want to do. So after you learn something and earn some money or earn some skills, then you start saving what you have earned. Then you invest and buy the things you need to keep you moving for 3 generations. That's first, you get a will prepared. You get the medical and mental power of attorney together. Then you get you some insurance. And you invest your money then in the things that you buy every day. Walmart stock, airplane stock, real estate stock. You start that when you're about 8 years old. That's the responsibility of the parents. And when you are 30 years of age, you can retire and then be a public servant. Be a public suffering servant, where you already have your economics taken together. You have the training, you have the will and desire, and then you can go out and not be a crooked politician or an evil doer that's always raising hell about something, can't fight themselves out of a leadership bag, always want to get something they don't deserve, want to stay in office till they get 100 years of age,
Yes.
and can't even go to the sessions because they're sick all the time. That's when you have to call those folks together and respectfully ask them to resign and give them a title as the chief advisor to this new person that you're going to put in his or her place with their permission. And if they don't do it, you just vote them out of office and send them on a cruise somewhere.
Long cruise.
Yes.
Hey, you want to add on to that,
I
Benny?
laugh because Dr. Henderson has some Bible solutions, but they're radical. And I know that some people are listening and they saying, yeah, and then they saying, but. Like, I was listening to the last show that you were on, and you told a young man that he needed to get the kid's name from that were living in the household with him and give them his last name.
That's
The
correct.
And get that. And I know some people chewed on that all night. they woke up the next day upset with you. But it's a solution
Let me tell
because
you
guess
something.
what? I've been in that situation.
I've known this to happen in many, many families.
Yes.
The kids' grades start improving. They have more respect for the other parent.
Yes.
They all have the same name. I told you I used to be a school teacher years ago. I called it that, a school teacher. And some of my family's brothers and sisters would have 4 different names. The same family. And that's not good.
Right.
give them all the same name, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you do. If you married to this person or if you shacking, get permission and change the name.
Now, I'm going to ask you something.
Yes,
I got to
sir.
interrupt.
Right.
What
I have a
happens with the
question, too.
toxic ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend who don't want that to happen?
Exactly.
What do you
That-
do
that's
with
a-
it?
Well, that's real easy.
That's a question.
You have to not just go and do it abruptly. You call them in for a conference and say, John Doe, you've been taking care of this child once or twice a year on his birthday. You are not supporting this child, and I have a deal for you. I'm not going to ask you to send anything else as support. And I'm going to ask you to release this child to me. I'm going to be his father or his mother, and you don't have to help anymore.
Well, what if it's a person that's very active in their child's life, though, Dr.
Yeah.
Henderson?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
What if the
but
parents
still
are
now, if they are
coinciding?
married, if they are married, that's fine. You get that child, and if he doesn't want to get his name changed because his dad or mama doesn't do, you can go along with that.
Just handle that accordingly.
But most of them don't care.
Gotcha.
If you tell them you don't have to pay child support, they'll do anything to get rid of that child.
Some of them take
Most
you
of them
in
will.
and out of court because they don't want to pay child support, and
That's
that court system is not good for a child or for parents to go to because
is not.
sometimes the lawyers are kind of dragging it out and they going for a drink after each meeting, because they're not trying to offer solutions. I've seen it. I've dealt with different people, helped try to moderate and mediate with people, in that situation. And I personally have been in that situation where there's just a bunch of lies, a bunch of whatever, and it may be that the person's not over that person, or I heard one guy say that a man don't like seeing another man with his family.
Well, he should
On the
keep
other
his
side of
family
that.
there. Well, he should keep his family.
And again, there are some circumstances that we may not, have privy to where they may, as I used the word earlier, toxic. They may be a toxic situation.
Well, many are.
It's better for
Many
them
are.
to not be with each other.
Right.
But I love your solution. I'm not knocking the solution. I just know that there will have to be training.
But now that's
You
not
said
going to
that
happen in
word.
all
Right.
cases, as you
There's
say.
not
That
to
would
be
be some
training.
cases.
Right.
But I bet if you work at it, you'll find that probably 75 or 80% of this will happen in these homes, and this will keep the child out of jail. Who you think causing all these murders in these cities, dropping out of school at 16, 17?
Right.
These children that have been abused,
Exactly.
misused,
Mentally,
and put
verbally,
into that's right,
physically.
and put in situations where
Sexually.
they're an adult and only 10 years of age,
Right.
living at home by themselves 2 and 3 days at a time, no food, nothing. Don't even demand that they go to school. We have some in Jackson right now who have not been in school in 3 years, and they're not even 10 years old. That kind of thing. Those people need help.
Well,
Again.
that's what open house is
That's
for.
exactly
So how can we literally, with what you just said, let's go ahead and say now, how can you literally 5 years from now then consciously just with no remorse arrest a child that his situation and circumstance created that cause and effect
Right.
of them
right,
to be
Benny. Right.
tormented? That's the word. They're tormented.
Right.
You
Well-
said they're at home without food 2 or 3 days.
Right.
At 10 years old, they're forced into adult situations.
Right.
That's mentally, psychologically straining. We talked
That's
about
trauma.
it last time.
That's
Stress.
trauma.
They're stressed.
See, that's the solution right there to what I've been talking about. See, those kids are not going to do well in the public school. I guarantee you. That is, if they gave it all. That's why that church that's sitting there, that's empty.
Or that house.
That's right. Or that, like your house, open house. That church should be open from 7 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week, training and doing something. And
You're
it
putting a
doesn't-
lot on me, Dr.
and it
Harrison.
doesn't
I was
cost-
thinking about starting out at 46 hours a day.
No,
you putting
no,
a lot
you don't
on me,
wanna do
Doc.
You have
I'm
to,
listening.
you have to
7
run.
a.m. to midnight.
You have to run faster when you're behind to catch up.
Yes, sir.
You cannot get on the starting line with the fast runner that's already well trained,
My
and
God.
getting physical therapy, has good health, and your leg won't hardly move. Hell, you got to get out there and work
I
hard
got
and
to
run
sprint.
hard.
I got to sprint. I got you.
You got to do it, Doc.
I got you.
Well, so again, Dr. Henderson, you keep saying the church, so we just need to. It sounds like a call to action to the
Well,
churches.
see, that's the only thing, man. See, the only building that's there ready to go
Is the church.
with the
Building.
utilities
Yeah.
on are those churches in the various denominations. Then you have the second
And we
follower,
have so many,
people like
Lord.
this gentleman,
We have so many.
community organizations. They are to work together. Now you
In
take with this
tandem.
open house program, he can't do everything.
Right.
So he's going to get those kids that's abused, neglected, and he's going to send them on his van to the church down the street that's teaching basic skills. When they get to the point where they can do something and learn how to read and write a little bit, going to take another one and teach him to how to fix an air conditioner.
There you go.
On an OJT program, he's going to have a mentor, and he's going to put that girl, the boy in a truck that might be 10 or 12, and they're going to ride around and pass the man a tool and learn how to fix an air conditioner or fix a car or fix their engine
You right on.
in a diesel engine. You don't need a degree to do it.
Right.
You need the experience. If you look at history, there are a lot of people invented all kinds of things and taught themselves how to read. A lot of slaves
Correct.
invented stuff.
Correct.
And one that they invented was the cotton gin, and they lied, and history said Eli Whitney did it. And this boy was in graduate school, going to college, and he came home one day and saw those Negroes and
Hold
black
that
folks.
thought, Dr. Henderson. We're going to pick up. Today's show is brought to you by Footprint Farms. Visit them online at footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call them at 601-910-5534. Be sure to check their TV show out, Ag Plus Culture, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on their YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms. We'll be right back after the break. You're tuned in to the Tonya G Show. Benny, we are going to switch it over to you, sir, and tell us about your phenomenal event that is coming together on Sunday. We're putting that up on the screen there. Talk about that, sir.
Awesome. So in the short time that I've been here, we really have, he used the word earlier, recruit. I'm sharing in the grocery market. I'm sharing at the gas station. I'm asking people how do they feel about the crime. It kind of rings a silent alarm. And you're able to converse and have courageous conversations with every individual around the city of Jackson, because if they have not been directly affected by the crime, they literally have heard about the crime or dealing with something. Like I told you, Spurgeon Banyard's daughter was my first real alarm that, this is my fraternity brother. I haven't seen him in years, but that name, I know that name. Wow, what's going on with this? What's going on with Jackson? And a lot of the stuff has been saying the community got to talk to the police, and the police got to talk to the mayor's office, and no one is saying, let's talk to the kids. Let's talk to the young people.
Right.
And so over the last few months, it was put on my heart to bring some of the solutions that I've utilized in Atlanta, in L.A., with gang conferencing, in Atlanta with intervention prevention, in Alabama, in Tennessee, different states I've been at throughout the years, bring it home, come back home, find a home, and I had no idea that there were so many dilapidated homes. I had no idea there were so many dilapidated buildings and business districts to where, as he was speaking earlier, Dr. Henderson, where we can do pop-up shops and show the young people how to run a business. We spoke about this last time. Even if we start off one day and then say next week we're doing 2 days.
Right.
Next week we're doing 3. Next thing you know, 7 days a week. We have businesses being ran by these young people. They don't have time for a gun.
Right.
They don't have time to be shooting. They don't have time to be banging and gang banging and slinging drugs when they are given a earnest income.
Right.
Earn and learn, or learn to earn type of situation. So the open house venue has not been located as of yet, but I have been given access to over 100 acres in Utica where there's fishing, camping, animals, and we do have a program called 48 Hours to Live, where we take the young people out on a Friday night at 7 and they come back on a Sunday at 7. And in that 48-hour life period, we do activities that are full of life skills that show them how to do teamwork, leadership, how to step into their calling and their gift. And there's certain things that they do, like pitching the tents, learn how to create a fishing pole from scratch, learn how to fish, clean the fish, do a whole bonfire, do a discussion at the bonfire. All of these are ritual and traditional things that allow the young person to drop that armor of anger, that armor of bitterness, that armor of, it's hard for you to still be angry after a sack race. It's still hard for you to be angry after a scavenger hunt.
Right.
It's still hard for you to be angry after you eat some hot fish that you caught early, and now they're saying, "Wow, this is fun."
Exactly.
You know what? I just wish I had. And there's a form that I give young people when I first interact with them. I did it throughout several programs, and it's called "How I Feel." And if I was to show you guys some of those answers, some of the answers, I'm angry. I don't know why I'm so angry. I feel like the devil lived with me, and when you dig deeper, some of those stories are horror stories.
Right.
So how do we change that? We simply change that. It's the 3 E's. Your environment, your experiences, and your exposure create who you become.
Exactly.
Your environment,
your experience.
That's where you do your habitat. That's your habitat. That's where you do your habits at, and then you create your habits, then your habits create you.
That's true.
See, Crackhead Joe wasn't always Crackhead Joe.
He wasn't.
Crackhead Joe was Lil Joe, lived down the street, down up by the strip. We used to send him to the store, he'd bring us candy back, and somebody gave him some crack.
Right.
Something on the inside of him allowed him to hit that crack. And now he's Crackhead Joe. What adjective can we take and put in front of these young people names? The mechanic Joe?
Right.
The pressure washer guy Joe? The painter Joe, the sewer Sue, the baker Jimmy.
Right.
We got to put adjectives in front of their name, and we have to allow them the royal priesthood that we truly deserve. You're talking about a tribal community, and that's what we need. So everybody won't fit in this thing that I'm doing. Some people gonna catch it on the other side of the news articles and all that.
Right.
Some people gonna catch it on the other side when a young person that go through this program be the next mayor. Some people going to catch it then, but for those that want to catch it now, I need for individuals to understand that when we come together and we create what they call a relationship. And there's 2 things in that word. Can you relate to what I'm saying about what these young people need?
Right.
And can you get on this ship with me and take them through different experiences, change their environment, and expose them to something different? And so with the land being donated, it's called Rock 22 Farms. And shout out to Mr. Griffin for allowing that. And then the Charity Activity and Event Center, we will be there Sunday at 11 a.m. for a meet and greet, a soft lunch, talking about these things and the resources that will be available through the open house vision. He called me after an interview and he said, whatever you need, brother. God then told me whatever you need. And so these are the people, somebody really honestly asked me, well, why are you taking donations? And I said, why not?
I mean, you have to.
You
need finances.
We need resources in order to feed the children, to take the children on trips.
Right.
And so you can't complain about the crime and then complain about the solution.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to pick a side.
Exactly.
You cannot. What a camera at? Can I look in the camera?
Look in the camera, man.
You can't complain about the issue and the challenges and the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. And then complain about the yellow brick road that's given to you to get to the place of a solution. And so I need for you to pick a side. Jackson, Mississippi. I'm here. I'm putting you on Front Street. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you to be an ambassador. That's a person that buy into this whole open house vision, and you become a representative for open house, and you bring us resources, and you be a resource, okay? I'm looking for supporters. Those are people that can simply online share messages, share this interview tonight. Let people know that there's a resource in Jackson, Mississippi for the young people and parents alike to give them healing, deliverance, and training and education in an alternate way, okay? An alternative. This is an alternative. If you want to be a volunteer, I need you for mentorship. I need you for tutoring. That young person that may need help in math, and he's struggling in math, and he's just a wreck because he can't get it in math. But in English and everything else, he's doing well.
Right.
But we taught him, you got to get this percentile up. You below average. How do you say to a child, you below average? Do you know what that does to a child?
Right.
That you're below average. You're
Right.
below average. Go move your clip to green. Go move your clip to blue. You on this, you in that demographic. You in the fourth group for reading,
Right.
which is a lower group. You know, we got to destroy that. And we got to discover what a kid needs and put it in front of them. Basketball and track kept me from being killed or killing somebody in high school, because that's when the gangs first came to Jackson. And everybody was picking a side according to the neighborhood. If I didn't have basketball and track, I would have been one of those statistics. No question. But basketball and track wasn't my future, but it got me to Jackson
Right.
State. It got me an education degree. It got me around children. And now my experience is that if you put me in front of the children with the Bible resources, we will change the face of this city and the heart of this city seemingly overnight. It's going to take at least 90 days, like he said. So many
Right.
things he's saying that
It's
I said in the
aligning
first
with
thing. It's
what you-
aligning.
right.
And so I'm going to
Right.
connect myself to you, Dr. Henderson.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You ain't going to be able to get rid of them like a bad rash now.
Well, that's fine.
Okay,
That's
I
fine.
want your number. I'm gonna
That's
call
exactly
you,
why I
and
wanted
I'm gonna
you
show
all to
these
meet.
young people how to connect and have a mentor. And you might not say everything I like, but I know that you have wisdom and experience that I should listen.
But I hope I
Right.
don't. I don't want to say everything.
No, because then it won't be changed.
You
I don't
know?
know it all.
That's
right.
And so, will you help with the vision of Open House Vision? You can follow me at Open House Vision. Is a page on Facebook that I created since the last meeting. Have about 200 followers so far, but we want to max that out. Open House Vision Jackson, Mississippi is available on Facebook, and you can follow me on Instagram at Open House Jackson. And you can contact me again at 470-572-4645 if you're interested in being a part of Open House Vision. And we have a 1-800 number coming very soon. I can't say it because they say don't say it, but it's a very, very symbolic number. It took me 3 or 4 days to get a particular
remember you
number.
talking about
and
that.
I'll be able to announce that hopefully next time I'm on, or share with you, and maybe you can share. But it's a 1-800 number, and I need volunteers, somebody that has already passed a background check, teachers, counselors, and we need you to man that phone for when these young people call in and they're feeling like they're about to jump off a cliff or hurt somebody or hurt themselves, that you literally can communicate with them and give them the audacity of hope to keep going and believe that there is a brighter day on tomorrow if they can just get through that situation. You know, brighter day right then and there for them by you being able to listen and motivate and inspire them to keep it keeping on.
And what's that address again, Benny, this Sunday?
195 Raymond Road.
195 Raymond Road.
195, and it's the Charity Activity and Event Center. Shout out to Brother Ellis and his wife. I salute you guys. I thank you guys as well for being a great part. And there's several other individual names that I could call, but I don't want to forget nobody. You know who you are. I appreciate you guys. Since I stepped foot back on Jackson, Mississippi soil, you guys have asked me, what do we need to do? And I appreciate you guys.
Well, we have less than 3 minutes here. Dr. Henderson, what does it take to get more community leaders and organizers like Benny?
It takes support, financial support. Now, a lot of people say, well, we can't do anything. They got grants out there for that. Nope. Grants are for special people, special programs. One need to give $1, $10, $100, $1,000, or just go in and volunteer to work with this man. Go to that farm and cut grass, dig a hole, put a post in it.
Anything, huh?
That's the way you help this man. Now, I'm going to do it several different ways, which I'm not going to announce at this time.
Right, right.
But that's what you have to do. You have to use what you have where you are,
Get
when
started.
you have it,
Get started.
and
Yeah.
then do it. And in 30, 60, 90 days, you'll see a change.
Yes.
I guarantee you.
Yes. I said the same thing.
You
remember?
did that. You said,
I said,
your
give me
letter to
90
Jackson
days.
give you 90 days and the resources, and you will make a change. And it's been less than 90 days, and you are already just well underway, Benny.
I am so glad that you guys allowed me to come on this show. I'm glad that you felt led to bring me on with Dr. Henderson. I did get a
Absolutely.
chance to hear him on the Socrates Garrett show,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys really just had me glued to the screen.
Thank you.
My phone
Thank you.
rang and I ignored the call because I was watching on my phone. And even now we have some great comments on Facebook. I was watching some of the
Yeah, I
comments.
wanted to
people are
get to those,
responding.
Benny.
But I'm thankful. Thank you both.
Yes, we have less than a minute here. I want to thank you both for being here. If you can come on again together so that we can talk about some more issues, I would definitely love to. Dr. Henderson, I didn't get to any of the major questions that I wanted to ask you, but we're going to get it. We're going to get it. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. The Tonya G Show has a new sponsor. Yes, sir.
I just want to announce I'm going to invite this gentleman to my show tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, on WMPR. Now, it's Thursday night from 6 to 7:30.
Yes, sir.
This man, with Mr. Bennie Foster, will be on the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show.
Thank you, sir.
Thursday night
The
from
real
6
news.
to 7:30. No propaganda, no
Yes.
opinions, real facts.
Yes, sir.
And you talk about anything you want to talk about as long as about what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And I'll talk about the other stuff.
We're going to keep the main thing the main thing.
That's the way to do it.
Thank you both so much. Tonight's show is sponsored by Footprint Farms. Visit them online at footprintfarmsms.com or give them a call, 601-910-5534. We'll see you next week. Bennie Foster will be here again.
Thank you.
New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com.